Good morning and welcome to Bangalore International Centre this lovely and rather hot Sunday morning. This morning's presentation is Nuts and Bolts of Carnatic Music, a lecture demonstration. Until recently, classical music around the world has loved to project itself as being beyond the grasp of the masses. Carnatic music has been no exception to this self created aura of inscrutability. Mangala Karthik, a Carnatic musician and teacher and co founder of Anandi Centre of Music, believes it is the duty of every teacher and learner to cut through the jargon and spread the joy of this magnificent art form. Her training under legends in the field and a constant connect with young minds at Anandi make her ideally placed to offer a session on the basics of appreciating Carnatic music at multiple levels. Accompanying her will be a small cohort of talented young singers from Anandi. Please welcome Mangala Karthik and the students of Anandi Centre of Music.
Namaste. I welcome you all on behalf of all of us on stage again. Thank you for being here on a Sunday morning. I'm really glad to be here and to share the workings of the Carnatic form of music. And with me, as you can see, I have young students of the art. They all train with us at our music center, Anandi Centre for Music, where my husband Karthik and I teach. So we've been teaching for many years. Along the way, we've been interacting with students at different levels in their learning. We have people of different age groups. So in this journey, we have been communicating the workings of the art. And as you all know, classical music by nature is somewhat an acquired taste. People don't take very naturally to it. So while reaching out to youngsters particularly, we've always adopted different perspectives. And this whole communication has sort of inspired a Lec Dem like this. Needless to say, we have had the privilege of getting very good insights from our own gurus, masters in Carnatic music like Sri Neyveli R. Santana Gopalan, Sri Lalgudi Jairaman. Talking about my own guru, Padma Bhushan Sri Lalgudi Jairaman, a violin legend, he used to describe musical notes like they were playing roles in a play. And it used to be very fascinating to listen to the things that he used to say, talk about these notes like entities, different entities. Sometimes he would talk of a musical phrase and say, think of all the notes coming and falling together, being strung in a garland. That's how the beauty of the musical phrase should come out. And some other times he used to say, listen to that little hidden note in a phrase which is lending all the charm to it, which you are missing out on. Needless to say, it was very fascinating. And it also makes you think that these great masters think in a different language and connect in a very different way to music. So to start the Lec Dem, let's listen to a song which one of our greatest composers in Carnatic music, Muthuswami Dikshitar, he composed the song inspired by the tune of the British national anthem. We'd like to start with this.
सङ्गीतश्यामले सर्वाधारे जननि सन्ततं पाहि मां सङ्गीतश्यामले सर्वाधारे चिन्तितार्थप्रदे चिन्त्रूपिणी शिवे श्रीगुरुगुहसेविते शिवमोहाकारे चिन्तितार्थप्रदे चिन्त्रूपिणी शिवे श्रीगुरुगुहसेविते शिवमोहाकारे शिवमोहाकारे शिवमोहाकारे.
Incidentally, Muthuswami Dikshitar is one of our greatest composers, and his compositions represent a high level of sophistication both in the music and the lyrical aspect, or sahitya. And one wonders how he got inspired to compose such a little song. But there's always a connect between different genres of music. So let's hear one more piece in the Western genre. It's a very famous song from a very famous movie. You will hear one of our students singing it now.
Do, a deer, a female deer, Ray, a drop of golden sun. Me, a name I call myself, far, a long, long way to run. So, a needle pulling thread, la, a note to follow, so. Tea, a drink with jam and bread, will bring us back to do. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, so, do.
As she was singing it, there was another thread running in my mind, so I will ask her to sing it again. Sa ri ga sa ga ri ga re ga ma ma ga ri ma ga
A name I call myself, far, a long, long way to run. So,
sa
a
ri
needle
ga ma
pulling
pa
thread, la, a note to follow, so. Tea, a drink by jam and bread, will bring us back to do.
sa ri ga ma pa da ni do pa so. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, and ti represent the musical notes of Western music, and our equivalents in Carnatic music are sa, ri, ga, ma, pa, da, and ni. Here's a little passage that I found in a book which really sums this up. Every language has got its alphabet. The number of letters forming the alphabet varies from language to language. However, while the number may vary, the function of the alphabet remains the same. It is the fundamental basis on which the language is built. Music, also being a language of sounds, emotions, and feelings, has its own alphabet. They are sa, ri, ga, ma, pa, da, and ni. They are variously referred to as the swara letters, swara syllables, or swara mnemonics. Technically speaking, they constitute sapta swaras, sapta meaning 7. So we always refer to these as the sapta swaras in Carnatic music. The same song, Do, a deer, a female deer, if you know the song, proceeds like this. When you know the notes to sing, you can sing most anything. So when I know my notes, whether they are do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, or sa, re, ga, ma, pa, da, ni, I should be able to sing anything, is what the song says. So let's test that out on something non-Carnatic now. Let me try and sing a poem by Rabindranath Tagore. Where the mind is without fear and the head is held high, where knowledge is free, where the world has not been broken up into fragments by narrow domestic walls, where words come out from the depth of truth, where tireless striving stretches its arms towards perfection, where the clear stream of reason has not lost its way into the dreary desert sand of dead habit, where the mind is led forward by thee into ever-widening thought and action, into that heaven of freedom, my Father, let my country awake. So I used swaras here again. They were a little different from the swaras that I sang for do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, because it was in a different raga, but we'll come to that later. The question is, whatever I sang now, I used swaras, but did it sound Carnatic? I will give you a little pause here to think about. So yeah, it has some of the notes of Maya Madhava Gowda, some of the notes. Notes in an order different from Maya Madhava Gowda though, but my question is, did it sound Carnatic enough? Like you know of how the sound of Carnatic music sounds?
No.
No? Okay. So why didn't it sound Carnatic enough? Is because of a crucial feature that we have in our music, which is called gamaka. A gamaka is generally an embellishment to a swara. So instead of singing sari, I may sing sari. So there is something I'm doing there, something in addition which I am enjoying the swara with, and that is called a gamaka. It is called an ornamentation, in fact. An ornamentation always beautifies something. But honestly, if you ask our students and as a musician myself, it beautifies music, but sometimes it can also be tedious because a gamaka really involves a higher involvement of the muscles. In fact, sometimes to give a certain gamaka, you really have to contort your face. And just on a lighter note, you might have seen it in a lot of Carnatic concerts. So if you wonder why their facial expressions are the way they are, blame it on the gamaka. So how do beginners train for picking up the music alphabet or swaras? We have systematic exercises that familiarize them with these, and these will be demonstrated by our students. They will sing an exercise called Sarali Varisai. They will present a few Sarali Varisais now.
Sari ga Sari, 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 gama, sari, gama, pada, ni, sa, sa, ni, sa, ni, da, pa, sa, ni, da, pa, ma, ga, ri, sa, sari, ga, ma, pa, ma, ga, ri, sari, ga, ma, pa, da, ni, sa, ni, da, pa, ma, pa, da, ni, sa, ni, da, pa, ma, ga, ri, sa, sari, ga, ma, pa, ma, da, pa, sari, ga, ma, pa, da, ni, sa, ni, da, pa, ma, pa, ga, ma, sa, ni, da, pa, ma, ga, ri, sa, sari, ga, ma, pa, pa, ga, ma, pa, da, ni, da, pa, ma, ga, ma, pa, ga, ma, ga, ri, sa, ni, da, pa, ma, pa, ga, ma, pa, da, ni, da, pa, ma, ga, ma, pa, ga, ma, ga, ri, sa, ni, da, pa, pa, ma, pa, ga, ma, pa, da, ni, da, pa, ma, ga, ma, pa, ga, ma, ga, ri, sa.
Swaras are ultimately sounds. They are sounds of different frequencies. The key to getting these sounds correct is to catch that frequency through your listening ability and produce it through the voice or the instrument. We also keep telling our students that ultimately muscles are at work, muscles of the vocal cords. And unless these muscles are exercised constantly and judiciously, we will not be able to deliver what we want when we sing. And this is not very different from a rigorous practice involved in the pursuit of any sport. So we have exercises that give the vocal cords different kinds of practice. Let's listen to another swara exercise now. You will see that the action on the hand is slightly different and the pattern of the swaras are also different. So the students will present something called Janti Varise now. You can go ahead.
Sa, sa, ri, ri, ga, ga. Sa, sa, ri, ri, ga, ga, ma, ma. Ri, ri, ga, ga, ma, ma. Ri, ri, ga, ga, ma, ma, pa, pa. Ga, ga, ma, ma, pa, pa. Ga, ga, ma, ma, pa, pa. Da, da, ma, ma, pa, pa, da, da, ma, ma, pa, pa, da, da, ni, ni, pa, pa, da, da, ni, ni, pa, pa, da, da, ni, ni, sa, 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 ni, ni, da, da, sa, sa, ni, ni, da, da, pa, pa, ni, ni, da, da, pa, pa, ni, ni, da, da, pa, pa, ma, ma, da, da, pa, pa, ma, ma, da, da, pa, pa, ma, ma, ga, ga, pa, pa, ma, ma, ga, ga, pa, pa, ma, ma, ga, ga, ri, ri, ma, ma, ga, ga, ri, ri, ma, ma, ga, ga, ri, ri, sa, sa.
The pedagogy of Carnatic music involves systematic exercises like these, which all beginners start with. As they go ahead, they may go in different tracks, but this is what all beginners start with. And these beginners' lessons have been given to us by none other than the great saint and composer of Karnataka, Purandaradasa, who is called the Sangeeta Pitamaha of Carnatic music. He has also composed small songs. They are called Geetams. Here's one song. ಕೆರೆಯ ನೀರನು ಕೆರೆಗೆ ಚಲ್ಲಿ. I request you all.
ಕೆರೆಯ ನೀರನ್ನು ಕೆರೆಗೆ ಚಲ್ಲಿ ವರವ ಪಡೆದವರಂತೆ ಕಾಣಿರು ಹರಿಯ ಕರುಣದೊಲಾದ ಭಾಗ್ಯವ ಹರಿ ಸಮರ್ಪಣೆ ಮಾಡಿ ಬದುಕಿರೋ ಶ್ರೀ ಪುರಂದರ ವಿಠಲರಾಯಣ ಚರಣ ಕಮಲವ ನಂಬಿ ಬದುಕಿರೋ ಹರಿಯ ಕರುಣದೊಲಾದ ಭಾಗ್ಯವ ಹರಿ ಸಮರ್ಪಣೆ ಮಾಡಿ ಬದುಕಿರೋ.
Thank you for the encouragement you're giving our students. Very heartening. So Gamaka is a crucial aspect of Carnatic music. Then we learnt about the Saptaswaras. But what else? There is lots more. There are many other aspects that contribute to a good execution of a song or a kriti. The diagram that you can see on the projector screen shows you some of these. Shruti is something which is very fundamental to our music, probably to all forms of music. So basically, any sound that we produce while we are singing, it has to be in Shruti. It need not even be the Saptaswaras, even a random sound. If it is not aligned to what you see here, which is an electronic tambura, it will sound jarring. So in common parlance, when we say, what is your Shruti, we refer to a range which is suited to your voice. So if I can sing certain notes, sa ri ga ma pa da ni sa sa sa, this is a comfortable range for me. I can reach some notes below this, I can reach some notes higher than this. But this need not be a comfortable range for another person. For my students, it may be a slightly higher Shruti. For someone older to me, it may be a slightly lower Shruti. It is a function of your biology, actually. So the Shruti of an adult male will be completely different from an adult female. Even when you're singing any swaram, sa ri ga, if it dips a little, then you're not in Shruti. And we keep torturing our students about it when they go out of Shruti, because that is a complete no-no. You cannot do that. It does not sound good. And there is a certain sync in vibration. They also call it nada in Carnatic music. That is what gives all the comfort of music. We call it saukhyam also in Carnatic music. We always have an instrument, if you would have noticed in performances. This is indispensable to us. We either have an electronic instrument like a box like this, or we keep a traditional tambura, which many people do keep, but sometimes for reasons of practicality, we use a box like this. Then, of course, a big word in classical music is raga. Raga is a melodic framework. I will show you a much more elaborate definition later because there's so much more to it. But for now, we will consider it as a melodic framework which pertains to anything that we sing. Anything that we sing will be in a certain raga. And the raga repository in Carnatic music is rich and varied. Connoisseurs of music will have an emotional connect with ragas. They love some, they hate some. We have about probably 150 ragas. Not all of them are very commonly used. Tala. I'm sure you all saw everyone doing an action with their hands. That is what we call tala. It is a time framework. As the music unfolds in time, it provides us a reference. It's a framework. When we are singing any composition, it goes on and on in a cyclic fashion. There are some portions in a performance where we do not keep the tala, but again, we'll come to that later. Sahitya is also a crucial aspect. It refers to the words or the lyrics. Something like Krishna ni begani baro Jayati Jayati Bharata Mata Buddha Gita Muruga Muruga என்றால் உருகாதோ உன்றன் உள்ளம். All these lyrics connect to us even before the melody does. But these are some of the simpler lyrics. Even when we don't really understand the lyrics, sometimes they can be a little more complicated. They can be in Sanskrit. But still, they do not come in the way of the enjoyment of the composition. Also, the main Carnatic repertoire consists mainly of lyrics. We don't have too many solely instrumental compositions, though there are innovations being done and new things are coming in, but it is mainly based on Sahitya. The next one that you can see is Laya. Laya is a subtle concept, but broadly refers to the tempo of a composition. Just to give you an example, all of you must have heard this composition called Vatapi Ganapatim Bhajeham. Vatapi Ganapatim Bhajeham, Vatapi Ganapatim Bhajeham. If we sing it too slow, Vatapi, it does not have the same effect. If we speed it up, Vatapi Ganapatim Bhajeham, Vatapi Ganapat, does not have the same effect. So every composition has a certain apt tempo that we need to sing it in, and that is very important in addition. And then we have Bhava. Bhava is, after you take all these other aspects into consideration, Bhava is everything. Because if we cannot infuse our music with bhava, then I cannot reach out to you. My music will not speak to you. So broadly, I can call it as the expression that we put into the music, the expression and the ability to convey the emotive element. So to give you another example here, an excerpt from a well-known song. Where I will try to be precise in all these aspects. I would like to, and I hope I succeed. Nirata kara kalita navanitam Nirata kara kalita navanitam Nirata karakalita navanitam Brahmadi suranikara bhavana shobhita padam Nirata karakalita navanitam Brahmadi suranikara bhavana shobhita padam Tiruvenkadachalam तिरुवेङ्कटाचलस्थितम् अनुपमं हरिं तिरुवेङ्कटाचलस्थितम् अनुपमं हरिं परमपुरुषं गोपाल बालं परमपुरुषं गोपाल बालं भावयामि गोपाल बालं मनसेवितं तत्पदं चिन्तयेऽहं सदा भावयामि. Thank you. Honestly, I probably started it at a slow tempo. Midway, I realized it's probably had to be a little faster. So it's not always easy getting all these aspects right. And if you also noticed, the notes were a little high for me. When I reached the higher notes, it sounded a bit shrill because this is not in my pitch. My natural pitch is a little lower, but since my students are singing in this pitch, I'm singing in this pitch. So that what I sang sort of illustrated how all these aspects have to come together for a good execution, and they are honestly difficult. They all don't always come together in the right measure. But we now have one of our students who's practiced his song, and I'm sure he'll do a great job. He presents a composition called Ranganayakam in Raga Nayaki, one of our, one among the sort of sophisticated ragas of Carnatic music. It is a composition again of composer Muthuswami Dikshitar, whose composition you heard right at the start.
रङ्गनायकं भावये हम श्रीरङ्गनायकं भावये हम श्रीरङ्गनायकी समेतं श्रीरङ्गनायकं भावये हम श्रीरङ्गनायकी समेतं श्रीरङ्गनायकं अङ्गज तातमनन्तम् अतीतं अङ्गज तातमनन्तम् अतीतं अजेन्द्राद्यमरनूतं सततम् अजेन्द्राद्यमरनूतं सततम् ऊतुङ्गविहङ्गतुरङ्गं कृपापाङ्गं रमान्तरङ्गम् ऊतुङ्गविहङ्गतुरङ्गं कृपापाङ्गं रमान्तरङ्गं श्रीरङ्गनायकम्
प्रणवाकार दिव्य विमानम् प्रणवाकार दिव्य विमानम् प्रह्लादादि भक्ताभिमानम् प्रह्लादादि भक्ताभिमानम् गणपति समान विश्वक्सेनम् गणपति समान विश्वक्सेनम् गजतुरग पदातिसेनम् गजतुरग पदातिसेनम् दिनमणिकूल भवराघवा राधनं दीनमणिकूल भवराघवा राधनं मामकविदेह मुक्तिसाधनं मामकविदेह मुक्तिसाधनं मणिमय सदनं शशि वदनं फणिपति शयनं पद्मनयनं अगणित सुगुण गणनाथ विभीषणं घनतर कौस्तुभमणि विभूषणं गुणिजनरत वेद पारायणं गुरुगुहमुदित नारायणं श्रीरंग नायकम्
So the raga of that composition was a raga called Nayaki, which is a difficult raga. Now we move on to this concept, which is very central to our music, which is called raga. Before that, in fact, there's an interesting fact, which you can see. One of our iconic musicians, T.N. Rajaratnam Pillai, an iconic Nagaswaram artist, actually opened the ceremony organized to celebrate India's independence back in 1947. He was called Akhila Ulaga Nagaswara Eka Chakravarti, or the Nagaswara Emperor of the world. In fact, Jawaharlal Nehru, none other than Jawaharlal Nehru, praised him, saying, "There is no doubt you are a Raja of music with a domain that cannot be invaded or conquered by anyone." So let's see what a raga consists of. Of course, it consists of swaras. But why do we have so many ragas? So it turns out that our swaras, the Sapta Swaras, 5 of them have variants. 2 of them, sa and pa, are constant. They don't have any variance. But the others have variance. To illustrate, let's take 2 notes, sa and re. Sa, re, sa, re. So you heard the first re and the second re. Let's take 3 notes now. Sa, re, ga. Sa, re, ga. Sa, re, ga. So you heard 2 variants of ga here. And in Carnatic music, there is a certain word for it. We call it swarasthanas. Sthana meaning position. So all these have different positions, and as you could also tell, they are in a sort of ascending scale. Actually, we have 12 of them, the main ones, but they're expanded into 16 for practical understanding. And from a learner's perspective, an oral comprehension of these swarasthanas. So when I teach somebody, sa, re, ga, the student has to pick that sound, the exact position, the exact swarasthana. So that ability is very important to carry out anything in our music. And in our music, we have something that occupies pride of place, which is the 72 Melakarta system. We have 72 ragas, which are the main ragas, the parent scales in Carnatic music. All of them have Sarigama Padanisa and Sanidapa Magarisa. So they have Sarigama Padanisa notes going up and Sanidapa Magarisa notes coming down. But I'm sure you'd wonder, how are we arriving at 72 now? If they all have Sarigama Padanisa going up and Sanidapa Magarisa coming down, how are we getting 72 ragas? I don't know how much you can see in that diagram because it's quite crowded. But if you look at each sector in that picture there, you will see that one sector has re 1, ga 1, another has re 1, ga 2, another has re 1, ga 3, and so on. And for each sector, you have different combinations of da and ni too. So you have one main set and then you have another main set. So you have in 76, you divide them by half, you get 36. One set of 36 ragas are there. You replace the ma by a higher variant and you get another set of 36 ragas. Yeah, it can get a little tedious when you're looking at this and trying to figure it out. But all students, invariably, everything comes down to this. Even the very first raga that you heard sung today, Maya Malava Gaula, which the students sang, has a place in this. It's number 15 in this classification. To make this seem a little clearer, let's make our students sing some of these ragas. We have picked a few ragas from that classification, and we also have a few other ragas where Sarigama Padani is not there in its entirety. There are some notes are skipped. So let's have the first raga in that classification. It is called Kanakangi, and it has all the swaras in their lowest variants.
Sari Gama Padani Sa Sani Dapa Magari Sa.
Now we'll go to the other end of the spectrum and we will listen to a raga called Rasika Priya, which is the 72nd. You heard Kanakangi, which is the first. Now you will hear Rasika Priya, which is the last, the 72nd Melakarta.
Sari Gama Padani Sa Sani Dapa Magari Sa.
Very good. We will also demonstrate a few more ragas which we shall not announce. so that they can correlate it as you are singing. Please start.
Sa ri ga ma pa da ni sa sa ni da pa ma ga ri sa. Kamavardhini. Sa ri ga ma pa da ni sa sa ni da pa ma ga ri sa.
Yeah, go ahead with Bilahari.
Bilahari. Sa ri ga pa da sa sa ni da pa ma ga ri sa. Sa ri ga pa da sa sa ni da pa ma ga ri sa. This was Mohan Kalyani.
So that was just an illustration, a demonstration of how these Swarasthanas come to form ragas. And as you saw in ragas Bilahari and Mohana Kalyani, the ascending scale did not have 2 notes. That is also possible. All ragas need not have all 7 notes. To illustrate a few more things, what are these Swarasthanas really doing here? They are positions, they have different sounds, but they can really create an entirely different effect if you change them. Let's look at this composition, which some of you might have heard. Shriman Narayana, Shriman Narayana, Shriman Narayana, Shriman Narayana, Ni Shri Padame Sharanu, Shriman Narayana, Shriman Narayana, Shriman Narayana, Ni Shri Padame Sharanu, Shriman Narayana, Shriman Narayana, Shriman Narayana, Ni Shri Padame Sharanu, Shriman Narayana, Shriman Narayana, Shriman Narayana, Ni Shri Padame Sharanu, Shriman Narayana, Shriman Narayana, Shriman Narayana, Ni Shri Padame Sharanu, Shriman Narayana, Shriman Narayana, Shriman Narayana, Ni Shri Padame Sharanu. Clearly a very devotional song. Hopefully gave you a meditative feel. Now, the swaras here were sa ri ga pa da sa sa ni da pa ga ri sa. Let's change the ri and the da. Let's make it sa ri ga pa da sa. How will the song sound now? Shriman Narayana, Shriman Narayana, Shriman Narayana, Ni Shri Padame Sharanu. I'll sing it again. Shriman Narayana, Shriman Narayana, Shriman Narayana, Ni Shri Padame Sharanu. Can I call this a happier feel? But what suited Shriman Narayana better? The first or second, you can show me with your hands. First. Yeah, so it's also a matter of, I don't know, it can vary from person to person maybe, but we are all used to listening Sriman Narayana with the first tune. And definitely the notes, sa, re, ga, that combination gives us a calming effect. And when you're praying to Sriman Narayana and you're asking for boons, you want to have a calming effect. You're not really, you're not doing very peppy there. So, yes, those notes definitely suit that song. What about the mood that is a raga capable of creating a mood? Do you think so? Or an atmosphere? Let's see how that works. அருணோதயமே அன்பின் வடிவமே. My Guru Sri Lalgudi Jayaraman has actually composed a Varnam, which is a type of a composition where he's talking about the start of the morning, the sunrise, and he has used this ragam. So evidently, ragas do create a certain atmosphere and a certain mood. Let's look at another example now and see if you can catch this. I'm going to sing some swaras and you can tell me if you identified the song. Sari ga 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 ri ga ma ga 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 ri 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 sa ri sa. Did this sound like anything you know? Who is it who said Janagadamana? Excellent. But did it sound like, really like Jana Gana Mana? The structure was like our national anthem, but did it sound like that? Yes? Sari ga 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 ri ga ma ga 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 ri 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 sari sa. The structure, definitely, the spacing of the notes did sound like our national anthem, but did it really sound like it? No, right? Right. So I will change the swarasthanas a bit now. Please do not stand. It's a very short segment. Sa ri ga 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 ri ga ma ga 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 ri 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 sa ri sa. So all I did was to change the swarasthanas of ri and ga. So now you can see what a huge difference the change in swarasthana makes, what a huge difference these variants in swarasthanas make, and what a richness they lend to our music. So here's another one. This probably, if there are some young adults here, you might recognize this. Sa 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 ni ni da pa da pa pa sa ma ga ga ri ga. Sa 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 ni ni da pa da pa pa sa ma ga ga ri ga. Na 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 na. I didn't know this song till a student of mine sang it for me. So if someone asked me the question, I would have definitely not identified the song. But if there are some young adults or youngsters who listen to Western music, English songs, pop, they might be able to recognize this. It's a song by a very famous pop singer. That much I can tell you. No? No answers? Maybe I didn't sing it properly. I'll sing the words now. Let's see if you can relate to it now. Everybody loves the things you do, from the way you talk, the way you move. This is all I know of the song, sorry. Everybody loves the things you do, from the way you talk to the way you move. And of course, being a Carnatic singer, I can definitely not sing it the way that singer would have sung it. So the singer is the English pop icon Adele. And the song is When We Were Young, apparently. That's the song. Here's another interesting fact of yet another of our probably the most iconic figure in our music. An artist with a pan-Indian appeal, Bharat Ratna M.S. Subbulakshmi. She starred in a film called Meera. The movie released in Tamil in 1945 and in Hindi in 1947. Jawaharlal Nehru is said to have attended the premiere along with the Mountbattens. Her music won her several admirers, including Mahatma Gandhi, who implored her to sing some of his favorite bhajans, such as Raghupati Raghava Rajaram and Vaishnava Janato. It was also her singing that all of India heard over All India Radio following the announcement of the death of the father of the nation. So as you can also see, our earlier musicians had these lovely interactions with our political leaders, which probably you cannot say of today's times. And they lived during the times of the British when the independence movement was on. And there were these interactions. One of our, in the Carnatic repertoire, we have compositions of a great freedom fighter and Tamil poet called Subramanya Bharati, who was also known for his inspirational songs and his participation in the freedom movement. Again, that sets the atmosphere to the concert. So we choose ragas also based on these. What kind of a mood does a raga create? So if I'm singing a concert in the evening, typically people use a certain ragas like Kalyani, which has a bright effect. If I were to be singing in the morning, I would choose probably a more mellow raga. Though we don't have very specific associations like they have in Hindustani music. So coming back to a kacheri, this is not the only image you would see in a kacheri. Instead of the main vocalist, you would see an instrument or a vadya, the veena, the flute, the violin, chitra veena, also called as gotavadyam, mandolin, nadaswara, saxophone, jalatarang, and now even the harmonica. For the percussion instruments, you may have additional instruments like the khanjira, the ghatam, or the morsing, or you may have two of them. You may not see a traditional tambura always, and you will never see the party on stage standing. Also, this slide has been generated by my husband, and it has his typical humor. He says that the artists may be meeting for the first time on stage. That is possible. So what do you hear? You hear songs, and you also hear improvisations. Exploring a raga before singing a composition in that raga without any rhythm is called alapana. So somewhat when I sang with the sunrise, that was somewhat like an alapana. Singing patterns of swaras or notes such that they lead into a line of the composition is called swara prastara or kalpana swara. I will show it in the video clip. Singing one line of the song in various ways within the confines of the tala is called neraval. All three are practiced but not rehearsed, not supposed to be memorized, certainly not written down. And the pakka vadya, which literally means sitting next to you, follows the main artist in these improvisations. So as you could see, the artist is stringing all these swarams together. She is doing it within the framework of the talam, and the accompanying instruments are going along with it. So she sings, then they play something, and the mridangist is also playing along. So just to illustrate what exactly she sang, Talli Tandri Guru Sanida Pamagama Padani Talli Tandri Guru Manida Pamanida Pamagama Padani Talli Tandri Guru. If you see, each time I'm landing here and I have to take up the line, the sahitya of the song at a certain point only. Talli Tandri Guru Nigaririsa Nirisa Sani Dani Pada Padani Talli Tandri Pamada Panida Sani Garisani Dani Risani Dani Talli Tandri Guru. So I'm doing it extempore here, and we are trained to do it. But what is really involved here? You'll also see that the vocalists, when they do this, sometimes have a very triumphant face. Like, each time they arrive at that point in the line, and each time they loop into the sahityam, they feel really nice and smug. So why is that? I want you all to be with me on this. So this is the talam. This is how we put it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If I want to do a very basic counting exercise, all the children can do it too. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, I'm taking two numbers for each beat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I'm starting from the beginning of the talam and I'm arriving at the count 9. But if I want to do it in another way, which is, I want the count 9, but I'm not starting at the beginning. I want to arrive at the end of the talam by starting somewhere in the middle. Can you all try it and see whether you can do it? Somehow I have to arrive at the end of the talam. So, if I start here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. No, I didn't arrive at the end of the talam. So I had to start it somewhere else. try it yourselves, and then we'll have our students demonstrate it. Yeah, so we'll have our students demonstrate this with certain numbers. Can you count 5 from a point in the talam such that it reaches the end of the talam?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Great. Can you do the same thing with a count of 8 counts?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
So how are they doing this? They're not doing it for the first time here. They did it in class. The first time they didn't get it right. It's a matter of mathematics. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I have 16 counts, but I need only 5 counts. So I subtract 5 from 16 and I leave that many counts and I take it up. Let's have another 9. I need a count of 9. Show us where you will start in the talam.
One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Yeah, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have that much here. If I needed 9, that is one additional one. She had to start here. Count of 13.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
Yeah, I'm glad he didn't do it right the first time because it shows you that it's not an easy exercise. It's brain work, it's a mathematical exercise. So we do this. So the Kalpana Swaram, which we have in our concerts, involves all this. What you also saw in the concert was a lot of communication. Do you agree with me? Were they all communicating with each other or were they all just playing something on their own? So there was a lot of give and take. So how does this happen? Also considering that sometimes they all land up on the stage for the first time. They might have not met each other, they might have met each other. The violinist may or may not know the song that the vocalist is singing. The mridangist may or may not know the song. But they are able to generate a teamwork. And they're also exchanging music, they're exchanging gestures. They are smiling at times, they are appreciating each other at times. Next time you go to a concert, you could observe all this. So there is some exchange happening. So how is this really enabled? You might wonder. So the thing is, we have a framework called Tala, which you saw all through this Lec Dem. So Tala guides many components, and that enables the precise communication between the artists on stage. So let us hear about 4 lines of a composition sung by our students now. Again, the very famous Vatapi Ganapatim Bhaje.
Vatapi Ganapatim Bhaje Ham 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 Vatapi Ganapatim Bhaje Ham.
So you saw that they repeated one line again and again. But what happened there is each time It started at the beginning of the talam and it ended at the end of that framework. So it cannot overshoot the runway. It has to end at that point. And it seemed like they kept on singing the same lines again and again, didn't it? The same words were sung again and again. But if you could figure it out, there were variations. There were variations in the tune. Vatapi Ganapatim Bhajeham. What was the next one? Ha. So first it was Vatapi. Next it was Vatapi. Next it was Vatapi Gana. So they changed the tune in terms of the swaras. They changed the speed of the swaras also. So now it's faster. Vatapi Ganapatim Bhaje. Then they take it really high. Vatapi Ganapatim Bhajeham. These variations are called sangatis in our compositions, and those also contribute to the enjoyment of the song. Another crucial component in our concerts is the percussion solo segment. So you have the mridangist or the kanjira artist or the ghatam artist having their own time in the concert where they play their solo. The main artist will not sing, the violinist will not play, only they will play. So the talam there was providing a framework, a connect for these three artists. So what the mridangist was playing, the vocalist and the violinist were able to keep beat and connect to what he was playing. And you could also probably hear patterned sounds in what he was playing. So that's how they structure their solo piece. They have a certain set component coming in the end, in the beginning, in between. And the end component is always the same. It's a something that you can recognize if you're a trained musician. And that's how the vocalist knows where she should come back and pick up her song. Otherwise, the mridangist can go on and on playing, or he'll have to just peter out slowly and stop playing. So, that's not a great effect. So if the vocalist picks it up at a certain point, then that's a lovely effect. It all comes together well. And in this video, I also had not realized it. They're very nicely focused on the main artist where she smiles, because she recognizes that pattern came and she has to pick up the song. And usually they play that pattern thrice. So when they play it thrice, you know that it's my turn to bring my composition back, and then we are concluding that whole segment in the concert. So to just show you how, to give you a very basic demo of this, it's not exactly how it is in the concert. Our students will demonstrate another aspect where we have patterns of swaras and we have similar patterns on the mridangam, which is here. Go ahead.
Vatapi Ganapatim Bhajeham. Gari sani pari sani paga sani pagari Vatapi.
Tadigirnatum, 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 Vatapi.
Gari sani pari sani paga sani pagari Vatapi.
Tadi girnatum, tadi girnatum, tadi girnatum, Vatapi.
Gari gari sani pari sani paga sani sani pagari Vatapi.
Tadi girnatum, tadi girnatum, tadi girnatum, Vatapi Garnapatim.
Bhajeham Vatapi Ganapatim Bhajeham. Gari sani pari sani paga sani pagari ga. Gari sani pari sani paga sani pagari ga. Gari gari sani pari sani paga sani pagari ga. Tapi Ganapatim Bhajeham.
So Satvik here couldn't really sing matching Varshini's voice because he's of an age where his pitch has changed. So he's now in the male pitch range. So that is again an illustration of Shruti or pitch as we call it. We come to the last segment of the program and we want to introduce our young artists before we move on to that. On the right extreme, you have Athar, if you can just do the namaskaram. Next to him is Nishka behind. In the front is ever smiling Tisha. Next to her is Sahasra. And then you have Simran. You have Kriti. Sudev. Varshini. And Satvik. Moving on to the last segment. Among the songs that you heard today, something like Shriman Narayana was actually composed by a 15th century composer. Though, of course, we don't have the original tunes, the tunes were probably composed more recently. Something like Vatapi Ganapatim Bhajeham was by a 18th century composer. A very popular song you all know, Bhagya da Lakshmi Baramma, Nammammani Saubhagya da Lakshmi Baramma, is again by a 15th century composer, Purandaradasa. We also have in our corpus of songs today hymns from the 8th century, when there was a lot of devotional literature. There were these devotional saints called Nayanmars, Alvars. We sing compositions even of those saints even today. So at least I wondered once, how did all this come together? Songs from so many years ago, and today we're all putting it, randomly, not randomly, of course we are doing some match with the ragas and structure and all that, but we're picking compositions from here and there, we are putting it together in a concert. How did all this even come together as a body of work? So it so happens that I might exceed the time by at most 5 minutes. It so happened that in the year 1927, an Academy of Music was formed. It's called the Madras Music Academy. Incidentally, it was formed when the All India Congress session happened in Madras. And since then, they have been standardizing all these things to form a collected body of work which we pick into for anything in Carnatic music. And every year they have discussions, they have Lec Dems, they have arguments also about various concepts. Here, so what you see here is a screenshot of a journal. Every year they publish a journal because they study things, they analyze things, they discuss, and then they put it all together in a journal so that people can refer to it. So that will be the standard for various concepts. Unfortunately, my screenshot doesn't show everything in the index of the journal, but I can tell you what all I saw in that journal. It was very interesting because it gave me an idea of the kind of breadth that Carnatic music had spread into. Obviously, you will find topics like raga and tala. But there was also, and this was back in 1975, please remember. So there was also in that index, you might not see it here, but there was also music and therapy. There was a topic called Western Parallels in Indian Pallavi Techniques. Then there was something called Antahpura Gite, which is very interesting because Antahpura Gite refers to a set of songs composed by Dr. D.V. Gundappa, the renowned poet and statesman of Karnataka. And these songs are in praise of the beauty and grace of the Madanika figures, the sculptures, gracing the famous Belur temple. Then there is one article on a pipe that is exclusive to the musical tradition of Kerala and played on certain social occasions. So you can see how, music is going with social practices also. Another very interesting thing here is you can see the word Maharaja Swati Tirunal right at the start. Then you can see after that contribution of Shahaji Maharaja of Tanjore. Then a little below you can see Sri Jayachamaraja Vodiyar and his Kritis. Now what are all these Maharajas doing here? You must wonder. So it so happens that in the course of Carnatic music, Maharajas have played an important role. They have been patrons of music, many of them, because back then some of these composers, they earned their bread by working in the royal courts of these Maharajas. And of course, the Maharajas had to be interested into the art. That's when they would patronize these musicians. They would give them interesting challenges. The musicians would compose songs on the Maharajas themselves. But the interesting part here is, it's not about the musicians that the Maharajas patronized, it's about the Maharajas themselves. They themselves were musicians. Maharaja Shahaji of Tanjore, Maharaja Jayachamaraja Rajendra Vodiyar and Swati Tirunal of Travancore were themselves musicians and have contributed to the repertoire of Carnatic music. So we would, as the last song of this presentation today, we would like our students to present a song, but before that, here's a little anecdote connected to it. This song is in a raga called Amrita Varshini, which is said to cause rain. So apparently, Jayachamarajendra Vodiyar was taking a walk with this musician called Harikesha Nallur Muttaya Bhagavatar. And they were having a lively discussion on whether this raga can really cause rain. And the Maharaja expressed his doubts. The composer, musician Harikesha Nallur Muttaya Bhagavatar was so confident that the raga will indeed cause rain that he actually warned the Maharaja that he should carry an umbrella for the walk because he was going to sing in the raga. And sure enough, apparently it did rain, and we hope we will have the same effect later today to provide respite from the heat. So let's hear this song, the same composition that was mentioned in the anecdote presented by our children now.
सुधामयी सुधानिधि सुमशरेषु कोदण्डे 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 सुधामयी सुधानिधि विधीन्द्रनुते विमले सलहो विधीन्द्रनुते विमले सलहो विधीन्द्रनुते विमले सलहो वेद
Ambike sani pa pa ma ga sa ga sa sani pa ni sa ga ma pa ni sani pa ma ga sa sani pa ni sa ga ma pa ni sani sa ga ma ga sani pa sa pa sa ga ma pa ni sudha mai sudha nidhi सुमशरेक्षु कोदण्डे सुधामयि सुधानिधि सरसिजाक्षि जगन्मोहिनी सरसरागमणि भूषणी सरसिजाक्षि जगन्मोहिनी सरसरागमणि भूषणी हरिकेश प्रिय कामिनी हरिकेश प्रिय कामिनी हरिकेश प्रिय कामिनी आनंद अमृतवर्षिणी हरिकेश प्रिय कामिनी आनंद अमृतवर्षिणी सनि पापा मग सग सनि पनि सगा म पनि सनि पापा मग सग सनि पनि सगा म पनि सनि सग मग सनि प स पापा सगा म पनि सुधामयि सुधानिधि सुमशरेक्षु कोदण्डे सुधामयि सुधानिधि
We usually end Carnatic music performances with something called a Mangalam, and it usually connotes something auspicious. We also sing a shlokam, which is in the form of a prayer sometimes, and I will end with that. So these lines actually say, Sarve bhavantu sukhinaha, let all live in comfort. Sarve santu niramayaha, let all be free from disease. Sarve bhadrani pashyantu, let everyone be prosperous. Ma kaschit dukkha bhag bhavet, let nobody partake of suffering. Sarve bhavantu sukhinaha, sarve santu niramayaha, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschit dukkha bhag bhavet. I thank you all for being here today.